Welcome back, guys. This is Jake ELLENBOGEN of the channel, and I hope you guys are having a great weekend. We're going to have the 4th of July tomorrow. I've had a little bit of a creative blockage as of late, and that's why I haven't put out a video. And I know I put one out this week, but still, I'm really hard on myself. I can't just throw stuff at the wall and just see what sticks. I really need to focus on videos that I enjoy making. So without further ado, we will get into a video that I think is going to offer you some value if you are a Rams fan. I've really been thinking about the fact, look, preseason, if you look at last year, by not having preseason, there are a lot of guys for a team that, keeps so many undrafted rookie free agents, for a team that really gets the most bang for their buck when it comes to developing players. To not have a preseason was hard for the LA Rams last year. So we're going to have a preseason this year. It'll be 3 games, but it's going to matter. It's going to take place in August. So we're going to get into a video idea here that I just had not long ago. Put the show plan together and everything, just in my mind. And the Rams are going to have a lot of breakouts, I think, in preseason. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I know it's preseason, but you're going to get an opportunity to see these players that you haven't really been able to see. So we'll go position by position. I'm going to give you one name. Maybe I'll give you multiple, but I'm going to give you one name that I think is really going to stand out in preseason and would be the quote-unquote MVP of that said position. Before we get into it, be sure to subscribe, comment, and like. But let's get into it. So we're talking, all right, Rams preseason. We're going to start with quarterback, and right off the cuff, it's really hard because you're looking, obviously, I don't want Stafford anywhere near the field during preseason. I don't really even want John Wolford there, but I think he's going to be there. So I think they're going to get John Wolford a lot of reps. They're also going to get some stuff out of Bryce Perkins and, of course, Devlin Hodges. Now, I think all 3 of those guys are very capable of going off in preseason. A guy that I really think, though, that will, overshadow all of them to me is Wolford. I mean, he started last season. He has familiarity with the offense. He's clearly the backup. So if they go with him, then he's going to be my guy. But if they don't go with him, it's very intriguing because you have Bryce Perkins, who is the dual threat quarterback, and you have Devlin Hodges, who's already started in the NFL. He started, half a season for the Steelers fairly recently. So that is the question there. I would probably go with Devlin Hodges, although Bryce Perkins' ability to run would keep everyone honest. So I'm going to say Wolford, but if they don't go with Wolford and they bench him, then I'm going to go with Devlin Hodges. But moving on, we have the running back position. I'm going to add a little bit more to this. Look, I understand you have Jake Funk, a 7th-round pick. You have Raymond Calais, a former 7th-round pick last year by Tampa. But the guy that you need to look out for is the guy that you should probably roster in fantasy leagues, and that is Xavier Jones. Xavier Jones was a stud at SMU. He dealt with an injury. He had a weird 2019 season where he didn't get in, or 2018 season rather, where he didn't get really anything there. The statistics just kind of drop off. But when you look at him, his 660 carries, his 3,434 yards, and his 45 touchdowns at SMU, it's not hard to see why people think he could be something in this league. He made the team last year, was active the majority of the season. Look, this is a guy that they really like. They've mentioned by name when you look at his ability to not only make things happen when there's nothing there, when there's no blocking, his ability to create yardage, his ability to break tackles, and his ability in the receiving game. You got to like him. And on top of that, I think he's a solid and he's definitely a willing pass protector. So those are the type of guys that get an opportunity. Maybe he's looking at a Gus Edwards type of career where he may be the 3rd guy, but a team loves him so much they have to give him carries just because they love him. I'm thinking Xavier Jones is going to be potentially the MVP of preseason. He is in for a huge preseason if they give him the rock because he is very good. I think this offensive line is going to be pretty solid as well. Just factoring in their backups versus everyone else's. Xavier Jones could have a really good preseason, so I'm looking forward to that. Moving on, wide receiver, it's tough. I wanted to say, Ben Skoranek here. I wanted to go Tristan Jackson. I saw some guys, but ultimately, how do you not say Tutu Atwell? when you look at what he did at Louisville with not the best quarterback play, and now all of a sudden he's got either John Wolford throwing him the rock or Devlin Hodges or Bryce Perkins, I feel really good about that, honestly. I think we're going to get an opportunity to see Tutu Atwell as a receiver, which is what he was at Louisville. There's this common misconception he was this gadget guy. That's just not the case. So I love that we'll be able to see Tutu Atwell in the preseason, probably a little bit as a returner, but I'm looking at him as the go-to wide receiver. Maybe it's a lame, pick there. Everyone just kind of assumes that would be the case. But they're not going to play Deshaun Jackson. I don't think they'll play Van Jefferson. Tutu Atwell, I think, is going to be in for a really good preseason. Moving on, this is really tough for me. I wanted to say Bryson Hopkins at tight end. I went with Jacob Harris. Here's the thing. The reason I almost said Bryson Hopkins is because I don't know what to make of him. I think he's the best tight end in the past draft class, but I don't know what the Rams have in him. They don't talk about him. There's just nothing about him right now. And I think he's talented, and I think he absolutely is capable of being a starting tight end at some point in this league. Not saying right now, but at some point. So where is he on this depth chart? Is he below Jacob? Is he ahead of Jacob Harris? I don't know. I'm going to go with Jacob Harris because I do think all of the rookies are going to play in preseason. The Rams are going to take advantage of those reps that they didn't get last year. So I think Jacob Harris is going to get an opportunity. If he does, if he gets a full opportunity, he's going to be huge in preseason. Moving on, offensive tackle, I have here Tremaine Ankrum. I understand he's a guard. I understand he could play center, but I really think the Rams, and I said this on my live stream pretty recently, I think the Rams are going to consider playing him at left tackle. I really do. I think he's going to potentially be Andrew Whitworth's replacement. When you look at what they were saying about him, raving about him, I think he's going to be the go-to offensive tackle. So watch out for Tremaine Ankrum for sure. Interior offensive line, because I basically merged, guard and center. This is a no-brainer for me. Chandler Brewer, look, this is somebody that didn't get a chance to compete last year for a job because he took himself out of the running. He had to. He was a high-risk COVID opt-out, a guy that battled leukemia. And this is somebody that Sean McVay really likes enough to say when he, was talking about him on the draft show, he basically said this is like getting another draft pick. So they really like him, UDFA. Chandler Brewer, I think he's going to have a good preseason. And then moving on to the defensive side of the ball, we have Bobby Brown III, who's probably going to blow up offensive backfields during the preseason. I think he's going to be the go-to guy on the defensive line. You might see, some Greg Gaines. I don't know how much he's going to play. Definitely look at Bobby Brown, and then I would say Eric Banks as well as maybe a Marquise Copeland or, somebody along those lines. So I would say definitely Bobby Brown, though, is the leader in that clubhouse because I don't expect Ashawn, Sebastian Joseph-Day, and Aaron Donald, obviously. They're just not going to suit up. So that's how I have that. This is going to come as a shock. At edge, at edge, I had a hard time deciding. I really think Chris Garrett could come in and, do pretty well. But the thing is, the edge rushing spot, they're edge rushers. When you look at the edge defender in Leonard Floyd, he's good. Like, you're not going to put him in the preseason. However, they haven't gotten a ton of production, so I'm not 100% convinced that Terrell Lewis doesn't suit up. I'm not 100% convinced that Justin Hollins doesn't suit up. I'm just not convinced either way. However, I have a kind of an underdog guy here. Not a lot of people are talking about, not a lot of people know about, is the UDFA from this class, and that is Maximilian Roberts, so I actually really like his game. 2020 Boston College, transfer from Maine, where he had 4 sacks. He actually ended up transferring from Fordham, which he spent 2016 through 2018 there. He suffered a season-ending injury in 2018, so he transferred to Maine. Then he transferred to Boston College. So a lot of transfers here, but this is a quick pass rusher, speed type of guy. Had a hard time starting because teams liked him so much as a situational pass rusher. And to me, those are the type of guys that succeed when it matters the most in preseason. Those are those guys that are good at one thing. They can really blow up in that one area. So I'm looking at Maximilian Roberts as potentially making this roster, and I think it's going going to come, and I'm not saying he will, but I think it's going to come in the, the event of preseason. I think people are going to see his quickness, and he's going to have an opportunity to maybe sneak on to at least the practice squad, but maybe even the roster. Moving on, linebacker Christian Roseboom. This is an obvious one. South Dakota State. They've been talking about this guy for a while now. Last year, UDFA. Jordan Rodriguez has been talking about him. Blaine Grisack of Downtown Rams has been talking him up. I've been talking him up. I mean, Christian Roseboom does a little bit of everything, and he does it well. He's just in a linebacker group that has guys that they already really value, in a Troy Reader, somebody that's come in and started back-to-back seasons when, he was, forced to basically go into action, and he actually made an impact. They have Micah Kaiser, a former 5th-round pick. They have Traven Howard, a former 7th-round pick. When you look, they added Ernest Jones. They added Kenny Young from the trade for Marcus Peters. So when you look at all those guys, no wonder why Christian Roseboom hasn't had an opportunity. But I don't really know where they're going with this because Traven Howard really hasn't gotten a ton of snaps. I do think he's going to start. So I'm going to say that they end up going with Christian Roseboom starting, and I think he's going to have a magnificent preseason if that's the case. And then moving on to the cornerback position, I know a lot of people immediately ears perk up and they think either two names. Depending on who you are, it's either David Long Jr. or it's Robert Rochelle. And I'm going to say it's neither. I'm going to go with Dante Dion, who's at this point, a preseason veteran. He's scrappy. He's had success with the Rams. He had success with the Giants. So this is, to me, somebody, in my opinion, that is just tired of being on the outside looking in. And I think he's going to do his damnedest to try to get this third cornerback spot on the roster. David Long needs a big-time preseason. If he struggles, though, I think Dante Dion could, knock him to fourth corner or maybe even off the roster. We will see, but I'm really high on Dante Dion, and I think he could be like a Mike Hilton type of cornerback in this league. Move on to the last position here. It is the safety position, and we're going to go with Jovan Grant out of Merrimack, hard-hitting safety. I can already see it now. He's going to get a hit over the middle. It's going to go viral. People are going to be like, Jovan Grant. And then people are going to see his range and the fact how rangy he is. He's going to be able to make a play on the football. Maybe, 1 or 2 interceptions in preseason. But I think Jovan Grant's the guy that's not being talked about. He's the guy in a deep and loaded safety group that I'm looking at. I'm looking at him over J.R. Reed. I'm looking at him over Paris Ford. I'm looking at him over Juju Hughes. All those guys. But I'd say an honorable mention is going to be Jake Jervis, who was a safety. He's played with the Rams. He's played snaps before on their defense, from Iowa, former UDFA. Apparently, they're moving him at linebacker. So if they're moving him to linebacker, I'm really curious to see how well his athleticism translates. So that's a name I'd watch on the defense. On the offensive side of the ball, I'm going to give this right over to Bryson Hopkins. We were talking about it earlier. I'm going to say keep Hopkins in mind. If they don't play Jacob Harris, Hopkins can really go off. Very talented tight end. So those are my thoughts on the preseason, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Who did I mention? Who did I not mention that should have been mentioned or shouldn't have been mentioned? You guys let me know. But that's going to do it. If I don't see you guys tonight, I will see you guys soon. Enjoy the 4th of July. Be safe. Don't do anything stupid. And I will see you guys all soon.